All right.
Trevor, good morning,
We're
man.
on.
Hey, why don't you come in here, Trevor, really quick? Say hello to everybody.
So we are live, right, Dakota?
We are
We're
live.
live? Yeah. Sorry,
Awesome.
you probably can't hear what we're saying, but everybody just like to welcome Trevor from Greentech, Sacramento. We are in sunny Sacramento today. I am Nich Pak with K2 Systems, and thank you, Greentech, for having us. We're going to be going over some revolutionary new products, and here it is. This is the K2 MiniRail Comp System. This is a brand new and breakthrough railless system that's going to speed up your installs on the job and make sure that you guys have flexibility to do either our cross-rail system with the same components that are built into the MiniRail Comp. And Trevor, thanks for having us
Yeah,
today.
man, absolutely.
Anyhow,
Cool.
I'm Nich Pak. I'm the product manager here at K2 Systems, and we're introducing a couple different new products for 2024. Our primary goal is to make sure we stay innovative and we stay on top of some of the demands of the industry needs for solar technicians who are doing either residential systems or commercial systems. With that said, I'll let the rest of the team introduce themselves as well as some of our special guests.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. So for those of you that were not on our live broadcast a couple of weeks ago, I'm Brett Nielsen, VP of Products and Services at K2. On the live stream from our home offices, we have Brad Bland, who's Director of our Partner and Channel Sales. And we have a special guest who a lot of you probably know, which is Brandan Sirrine, the Solar Goat, is joining us from, it looks like your garage where you create a lot of your video content. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in the shop and I got, K2 products on hand in here. This is where I stock all of my material for my job sites and happy to be on this call today.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, man. Also got Dakota, who's our marketing manager, is helping us to coordinate our live stream and go back and forth. So for those of you that maybe saw our previous live stream, what we're doing is something a little different, trying to get away from the kind of boring webinar style that's been going on for feels like a century. And we did this previously. We're doing our roadshow for a new product, actually a couple of new products that we're launching right now. We're doing our roadshow in the field. So you're live right now at Greentech, Greentech Sacramento, where we have Nich Pak on their mock roof. So we love it when distributors have mock roofs because it allows us to set up our products. And it allows customers, the distributor salespeople, everyone who's in the area to see the products in a real world scenario. And then also for us in the office, we can support the presentation of this system for everybody. And so we can go global with this through the live stream and can zoom in. I can go into Nick and ask him questions. And most importantly, we have a really good guest with Brandan. We've known Brandan for a long time now. I feel like, Brandan, we've been working with you and talking to you for, it feels like maybe 3 years or so. How long have you been the Solar Goat?
I guess I self-proclaimed myself. I didn't get any award. No one gave it to me, but maybe like 3-4 years ago, I saw that name wasn't taken. So I was like, well, if someone's got to do it. So
Very nice.
I think there is some competition for that name, and you got it first. So well done. I love your content, by the way, man. You do a great job of reviewing products. Like I've talked to Brad about this and Nick. Like there's definitely some influencers out there. There's people that create, content creators, I think is a good term for it. And you're definitely way up there in terms of people that I follow to just know, what's going on, what are problems. I would say a lot of people in the industry utilize you as a place to see stuff. Your content's like super interesting and you keep it fresh and you're always reviewing really cool products and explaining stuff. Like even like the portable battery videos you've done, I'll watch that just to understand solar better because I feel like sometimes for racking guys, especially, we get kind of sucked into the engineering and the racking aspect of the business. And it's good to stay fresh with like actual solar, like producing electricity. So you do a good service.
thank you. I love that. And like, there's so much depth to the solar industry. It's such a crazy, cool industry to be a part of, whether it's attachments or batteries or panels or commercial, residential, everything. That's one of the things I love about it is the technology is cool and there's so much depth.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually just got an opportunity to travel to Intersolar in Germany, in Europe, my first
Mm,
time in Europe. And it was a great show. It's massive. It's probably 4 to 5 times the size of RE Plus in the US, which is our big trade show that we have. Tons of battery storage, utility scale microgrid storage, a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, appreciate you jumping on with us. And I also appreciate you providing us feedback. We send product to Brandan all the time to test out on his roof, and if he gives it a thumbs up, he'll create video content. Just speaking to the audience right now. So let's get back to what we're here to talk about. So, like I said, we're at CD Greentech Sacramento. We got Nick on the mock roof. We're launching a pretty new, I would call it new and exciting product for us, called the MiniRail Comp System. This product is kind of new. It's actually an evolution of products we've had in the market for many, many years. For those audience members that are watching this live or going to watch this later, you don't know us, K2 Systems, formerly known in the US as Everest Solar Systems. So that's an important thing to remind people of. Always have been part of the K2 global family of operating companies. K2 Systems Germany is our parent company. The only reason we were known as Everest in the past was a conflict with a licensing name, a trademark. So we now have that. That's why we were named Everest previously. Always the same company, always the same management, privately held, and that's who's on with us today. So, Brandan, you've had a chance to try this product out on your
yeah.
mock roof. You've got a decent amount of experience. I mean, a lot of experience with a lot of different products. You've installed other rail systems. Why don't we start there? Like, why don't you kind of just chime in and let us, tell the audience your perspective on this product compared to maybe other rail systems in the past that you have experienced.
Yeah, and I actually did get to take this out and do this on an installation as well. As
Cool.
like test it out in like a closed environment, just kind of get my feel for it on the test roof.
You got to mute that guy.
Oh.
Keep going, man.
So okay, cool. So like what I've seen is that there's a lot of different solutions out there, and a good installer is going to know what the benefits, like what the pros and cons are of their product. And the first thing that I noticed is that there's several benefits to the MiniRail Comp that might be exclusive to this product, that features it offers that other products don't. Like, to throw one out, when I was installing, that kind of blew my mind. I had it oriented like it was a rail, just a short piece of rail spanning across the panels, portrait position, 2 points of contact. And I realized that it doesn't matter the height that you put it up on the roof within the clamping zone. You could have one here and the next one over a little bit higher. And I was like, oh, that's a genius benefit from this. There's little things like that, like say, hey, my junction box is on the same line that I snapped the line for my attachments. Oh, that's okay. I can bring it up a little higher or bring it a little lower. Or you can be, like on like a keyway on a shingle line, or just not like the row of shingles that you're on, and be able to have the adjustability to move it up and down. So there was little features like that where I was just like, oh, that's new to this product. It's almost exclusive with how it gets installed.
I was going to say, I think to Brandon's point, that was one of the first things that happened on one of the initial pilots, that somebody just put it on the wrong shingle course. But again, it's still in the clamping zone. It still works. It's versatile. It can adapt, much like rail, and in some cases even more adaptable than rail is because of that feature.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's bridging a cool gap, because some people might be like, oh, I like rail. Oh, I like railless. But it's railless that's installed more like rail is. And so like how you position it on the roof kind of makes sense if you've done a lot of rail. It's that same workflow, it's that same mindset, it's the same marks, it's the same snap lines. But then when you have an issue that would be a problem with rail, it's not a problem. It's versatile.
Brandon, you have experience installing some of the more legacy type of rail systems.
I do. So mostly do removals and reinstallations. And so I have a great opportunity to go to the job site and remove and reinstall old systems, new systems, old systems, different companies, different manufacturers. And so I get good exposures to like everything that's been out there and like is currently out there. So I do.
Cool. Yeah. When we started this project, there's a number of us at K2 that have been in the industry for a while. I've worked at other racking companies. Ross, our VP of Sales, and Andy Nishad, our CEO. We've all been in racking for a while now. And, the K2 system has had some cool features in the past. We've offered shared rail was one of our options. And we've been asked over the years, hey, why don't you guys make a railless system like some of your competitors? And I'll be honest, our experience with even just the shared rail aspect of what our product could do really deterred us from wanting to go down that path. When you're installing a traditional railless system and you're hitting rafters and there's rules about where the brackets need to go, and it's extremely limiting to the installers on that roof. That's been our experience. That's talking to installers. That's talking to companies and asking them why they're not using railless or why they used railless once and then they stopped. Is you get out onto a job site and you know this, like if you're putting rail down, the train tracks really help to make adjustments on the rails, right? Like you put your rails where they need to go, and then you can shift things around fairly easily after that if you need to. With the past railless products, you are really limited, because you have to keep those brackets on the certain parts of those modules. And if you need to shift something over, there's a vent pipe. If there's, a skylight that was mismeasured on the site visit, like something's off from the site visit that you're trying to design to, that whole design can be basically changed in the field on the fly. That morning you get there while you're laying things out. Sometimes that happens to guys. And, if you're working with those limitations, that can be a real problem. You might have to have a conversation with the homeowner and say, we need to remove a panel from your system because it doesn't fit within the restrictions of this system. So our approach with the MiniRail Comp system was, hey, if we're going to go down this path of making a railless product, we're going to make something that is as simple and easy for the installer to execute in the field. And so that's kind of what started us down this path. So let me actually share my screen because the viewers are probably like, well, what the heck is this? So we can actually explain to the audience, what it is that this product does. Quick. Yeah, you guys see it in my screen now?
Yeah.
Cool. So just to share this with the viewers, so our MiniRail Comp system really started out as a different product that's called the MiniRail Express, which was actually an evolved system from our Express Rail that was designed for trapezoidal sheet metal roofs. And over many years, whether it was myself or Ross or Nick, we'd have customers see our MiniRail Express, which is like this pretty long extrusion. It's like 17 inches long. It's designed to fit and have adjustability on trapezoidal sheet metal, as I said. And they'd be like, hey, can I use that on comp shingle? And we're like, hey, it really wasn't designed for that. The seal isn't designed for that. And but we always kept that in the back of our minds. And as the industry has evolved with what I'd call flexible flashings like the butyl, as well as our understanding of how to design products and calculate and engineer systems to go direct to deck, is really opened up a whole new world of railless options. And so that's where MiniRail Comp comes from, is this MiniRail Express product. And we're really just applying these same principles. And as I had mentioned, our goal with this was to keep this as simple as possible for our installers, especially to install. And one of the key aspects of this system is that it's really just two main parts. And even for contractors that are doing railless, they will have projects where they're using rail also. You might have a metal roof job, you might have a tile job, you might have a commercial project where you need rail. So for us, not creating a bunch of extra parts and SKUs that a contractor and a distributor need to stock and have available was really key in developing this system. So one of the other products we're going to show the audience is our new clamp called the cross clamp. And this will be the standard clamp that all distributors that we sell to, we're going to be discontinuing the old clamps, and this is going to be the clamp of the future. And it is a mid and an end clamp in one component. And whether you're doing a tilt or a tile or a metal roof job and you're not doing rails, this is going to be the clamp. So if you want to go to a railless install in a certain market, you have this product already on the shelf. And so we're really asking our customers if they want to go rails, they want to reduce their costs of material, if they want to speed up their install times, then we're only asking them to bring on like one or two extra parts from what they currently have. So Brad, I don't know if you wanted to chime in on your perspective. You've been talking to a lot of the customers as director of our channel sales, and some of the feedback you've been hearing on this new system as we go through this roadshow.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, you just kind of hit on it. This is different than the others. It delivers on some of what I think railless was supposed to be or supposed to deliver. And one of the biggest things that it hits on is just the part count. You no longer have 15 or 20 different parts to a system. You have 4. And to the point where I think somewhere in your slide deck, it might even be the next slide. We've done jobs where 4 boxes in the back of a smart car is taking an 8 kilowatt job to the job site. And I think that's important because, shipping rail over vast distances can be a hassle. You're talking about how to transport it on flatbeds or large trailers. Rails can get bent. There's a bunch of different moving pieces and parts to that. And this is simple and straightforward. And that was the goal in designing it. How can we make a product as easy as possible? And I think the other thing it does is it really kind of standardizes some of your bill of materials. One of the things I see in talking with a lot of customers is you go to one job and there's 12 rails. You go to the next job, there's 15. The next job is 10. And all the clamps and components, there's some changes there. It's not standardized as opposed to modules or inverters that might be, I have 20 modules on a job, I have 20 inverters. Now what am I doing with my rail? This can standardize installs in a way that rail really can't. Hey, I got the same number of brackets as I have clamps and the same number of frame mounted MLPs as I do modules. It really standardizes things. And I think the thing that's nice about that is you don't have to think much about it. Hey, I need 2 or 3 boxes for this job. Maybe 1 box comes back or half a box comes back, but you can use it on the next job. And it just makes it a lot easier. There's no waste in regard to this product either that you would typically see with rail systems where you're making cuts in the field and some of that product might not be used and goes in a big recycle bin. So I think those are a lot of things that people really have been kind of drawn to this by. And again, the ease of installation is another thing. Brandan mentioned it earlier. Hey, I've got some adaptability here. And I think the simplicity of this also makes it easier for people to understand how to install it. It really simplifies any intricacies that used to exist with railless systems and trying to align a slider bracket in the exact same way across a roof, which can be more difficult. So, ease of install and a low part count were really 2 of the bigger things that I think was really, we landed with this product. And a lot of distributors and installers alike have really been drawn to that.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to you, Brandon, on this topic because a lot of people respect your opinion immensely, right? You're out there, you're sharing good content. I consider you to be an expert in solar installation, especially on comp shingle applications. You're in Utah. One aspect that has come up before is the difference between portrait and landscape with rail systems. Rail systems, I think a lot of guys know, when you do landscape, it's difficult to line up those rails, to be perpendicular to your module orientation in landscape. So traditionally, installers are going east and west, whether it's portrait or landscape on rails. This system does help with that quite a bit because we are direct to deck. So that does allow the system to mount at the right locations all the time. But the other benefit is that it levelizes the cost of the racking no matter what. It's the same number of attachments, and the modules are always being attached at the proper locations on the modules no matter what. But just getting back to my question is, legitimately, we want to bring you on and get your opinion, right? It's not, not everything, not all products. There's always advantages and disadvantages. But being that you've got so much experience installing rail-based systems, what is your honest opinion of how this system compares to rail? Like, if you're out there installing jobs, are there situations where you feel like a rail system like this would be more advantageous? What's your real honest opinion about this compared to installing on rail?
Yeah, my first point to go back, it's kind of what Bradley was talking about and talking about transportation and convenience. I found myself in a situation where I would be doing a service call. I would show up to the customer's house and I would need to do a hardware upgrade on the system. And this like fixed a lot of issues for how I was running my business because I can have a couple boxes in a bin in the back of my truck and have an entire new racking system for almost any situation on stock on my truck. And so I was able to now go to customers and be like, yeah, we need to do a racking upgrade on your system. I currently have all the products that I need. We can go ahead and get that done today. I'm already here. Here's the price, change order, bid it out, get the job done, and move on to the next one. So I was having a lot of issues where it's just inefficient, where you show up to the job and okay, I'll order parts. It'll be here. Then I can schedule you back on the schedule in 2 weeks or this and that. It like just having a simple product that ships very compact, that is very versatile, just like created this, oh, I can, change order jobs on the fly and get it done. And so I love that about it. And then that goes into the same scenario as far as the product being so simple and having so many, like so few SKUs, that it's very easy to, adjust. And so there's a lot of benefits to it. And so I like from the business side of things, as far as the logistics and, getting the parts to the job site and having the right parts on the job site solves a ton of issues. So I love that about this.
Yeah. Now I've watched a lot of your videos. I know one of the challenging things for you is, you go to a site where you're doing a detach reinstall, you're doing maintenance. And I know one of the hard things is trying to find the components. Like if you're trying to be efficient with the material and keep the cost down for the homeowner, you're dealing with a lot of older racking systems and trying to maybe find the clamps that might, work with that system still. Because a lot of times clamps, our clamps are multi-use, but you take a clamp and it's been in the outdoors, snow, ice, rain, sun for years. Things start to seize up a little bit. Yeah, talk a little bit about that in terms of doing the detach reset stuff, like how hard that is to find components that still work with those old racking systems.
That's a really good point because I might remove a solar panel system and get to the job site, when it's time to reinstall. And then I realized that the product may have been over torqued and the threads were stripped out and the clamps won't go back together. They'll seize up, they'll lock, and they'll shear off. And if you're missing one mid clamp on a 20 kilowatt system, like you can't leave that job site like that. Like you're going to have a panel fly out. You need every single part in order to make that system correctly secured to the roof. So it's like, what do you do? Oh, this is an old discontinued racking system that is not stocked locally nor anywhere. That's absolutely a huge issue. And so those are the type of situations that I would change order, because I might need a full racking upgrade because I have 10 broken parts, because there's no way to find those 10 broken parts. Like you only have very limited stock locally, and I stock some used parts that I've like refurbished and I keep on my truck. So in those situations, but sometimes that just doesn't cover it. You don't have enough. But yeah, you need every part of your system to be functioning, and there's so many different variations of the parts, and they're not compatible and this and that. And so that's another feature that I love about it, is that the same accessories that work with some of your other parts and your legacy older parts still work with this part. Like the universal aspect of it, where I'm all on board for it. And I understand people want to be exclusive and new and have their new variations, but I really respect that you guys made this like backwards compatible with other lines and other products in the past.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because that was important to us when we were sitting down in the development room with our engineering team. In that, two things. One, from a maintenance standpoint, we wanted to make sure we were not making a product that had to be disassembled from the outside in, right? So if you have, a bad micro, you have a bad optimizer, you have a bad panel, and you got to replace it, the worst case scenario is that you're on that job basically removing the panels to get to that panel. So that is one feature of the system. Using our cross clamps, you can remove them right at that panel site. You can take the clamps out, you can remove that panel, service it, and put it back. And just so the audience knows too, the shape of our rails has, we were one of the first companies to have a rail that had an open channel for wire management inside, which a lot of our customers use for wire management. And we've maintained that rail shape for many, many years. And part of the advantage that we have is, one, that it grandfathers in a lot of our UL testing that we have to do for system level fire and UL 2703 bonding. But it also allows us to develop new clamps and new rails. As long as we maintain that rail shape at the top, then we're forward and reverse compatible with all of the other clamps we used to have, right? So if you, for example, if you're on one of our jobs in Utah and it's our old racking system, might be our 48 rail, could be our 48S, that uses all the same components as our new components, because all of our rails have maintained that shape. There are other companies out there that have recently come out with open rail channels to better compete with our products. And now they have a whole host of new clamps, optimizer mount, brackets. None of that stuff is going to work with the old stuff, which I know can be really tough for customers in the future. So, Brandan, I want to make sure we respect your time. You can totally hang on with us if you want to hang out longer. But you tell me. I love chatting with you always.
Yeah, I'm so passionate about solar and new products, and I absolutely love what you guys are doing for the industry. It's good to see people who care about innovation, making it life easier for service technicians, installers, and even people in the office and everybody involved to get these like solar panels on the roof. Really appreciate that. I'm gonna go and fix some more solar panel systems today. So I got a full day. I'm booked out with 6 appointments. So I'm going to be up on the roof for the rest of today, but I'm really happy I had the opportunity to chat with you guys, review this product. I absolutely love it. I currently have it stocked on my truck right here whenever I need it. It's got my stamp of approval, and it really comes down to knowing the benefits of the products that are out there. And this one has a lot of good ones.
Cool. Thanks, Brandan. Really appreciate you joining us.
Okay. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Brandan.
Bye, buddy. Yep, right. So for our audience members, they're just joining. We're like I said, we're doing a live stream on a mock roof at CED Greentech in Sacramento. We have Nich Pak, our residential product manager, our senior product manager at K2 Systems. He's got our MiniRail Comp System there on their mock roof, and wanted to give him an opportunity to walk the audience through this system in real life. The system's installed right now on that mock roof. So Nick, can you hear me?
I can hear you very clear, Brett. Good morning.
Cool.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. As Brett said, we are demoing the MiniRail Comp System here at Greentech in Sacramento, California. So swing by and come visit us at your leisure. I wanted to kind of go over some of the basics of MiniRail Comp, and let's go over what's in the box really quick. So as you guys can see, we have this cube here filled with MiniRail Comp. It comes with 40 mini rails, and it comes with 160 screws in the box, ready to rock. The screws that are in the box are our number 14s, the same screws that you'll actually be using for our Splicewood XL and for our multi-mount, and as well as our newer products like our drop and lock for tile and low slope roof. So like we said, you have 40 mini rails in the box. These are all black anodized Class A. They're nice and lightweight, easy to carry, easy to deploy. As Brad and Brett were stating, you can fit an entire job for your system in the back of a smart car or any commuter vehicle. You don't need to have a big truck to deliver all the rails and heavy bolts and everything like that. And with railless advancing so far, especially with K2, we've completely deleted any kind of external hardware that you're going to need. So there's no massive threading bolts for height adjust. There's no extra nuts and bolts for, sliding and clamping with intersection clamps or bridge clamps. All of it is built into the mount. So we can go over to the clear roof really quick, and then we'll pop off this module here as well. So for anybody who's just joining us right now, we have this smaller setup right here that kind of gets you in depth because there's no cells in the way of the actual system. But we have basically a mock-up 2-cell system here. The MiniRail Comp System, of course, is optimized for the cross clamp. Major leap forward for us here at K2. Cross clamp is end clamp and mid clamp built all together. And you actually can use this on our legacy systems as well, including all of our rail-based system, and soon to come, our commercial flat roof system for ballasting. The primary advancements that we've made in the product itself is you'll notice that the clamp is a little bit more oversized than some of the clamps you've seen in the past. We take very, very special attention to the rules and the manuals of all of the module manufacturers out there. We've been noticing that they've been increasing their modules, obviously, a lot larger. So we took a leap forward and made sure that we made the clamp much more substantial, a lot more mass to the clamp, all metal construction, and grounding bonding built in, 4 redundant pins on the left-hand, right side, and right-hand side. The other thing that's a major advancement for the cross clamp is there are no orientation restrictions on this. It is completely universal. So no matter which way you have it in your hand, it engages the same, always the same time. You don't have to have it facing a certain way. There is no right or wrong way to have the orientation on it. Just a clockwise quarter turn to get it engaged, clockwise, counterclockwise quarter turn to disengage it. And nice and smooth. We did say heavy mass to it, nice and glove friendly, very substantial. You can fit a bunch of these in your pouch and you can get right to work. This will fit modules all the way up to 45 millimeter, excuse me. So this means it'll take care of all of your needs for your LG modules, servicing any kind of large frame modules, anything that's like 44 out there, maybe some legacy Sharp modules or Helene or anybody else who has a large frame. So let's get into how it interfaces with the MiniRail Comp System. The MiniRail Comp System is not only optimized for the cross clamp, using it as unclamp and mid clamp, but you can also use our hidden end clamps with this system. The Yeti 2.0 is installed right here. Yep. And you can actually drop your module down, pull the Yeti clamp forward, and then be able to rack it down. And I'm cheating a little bit by getting my hand through the glass there. That isn't there.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that's why we made this demo roof, because it's a little bit easier to get the camera up and above it.
Hey, Nick, I also just wanted to touch on something real quick that you just said. We don't want to gloss over this. So, Nick is our residential product manager, is one of the key people involved in developing the cross clamp. And what's happened in the industry, as most people are aware, is modules have gotten much bigger. And, everyone knows like the universal side of clamps. You want something that's, minimum 30, up to 45. But
Much
an
bigger.
aspect of, an aspect of module clamp requirements that many people don't know is that these module companies are now requiring module clamps to be a minimum surface area on the module. So Nick, can you just touch on that again? Because this is really important, because if you're an installer and you're out there and there's some type of like RMA on a project in the future, if you have some type of failure, you're going to get into, warranties, you're going to get into stuff like that. And, you as a contractor want to make sure that, you're covered if there's a module problem. And one of the things they're going to look at is, hey, like, was this module installed properly, right? Were the module clamping locations accurate? And then what they're also going to look at is the clamp that you used to install on that module meet the minimum requirement? So Nick, please touch on that topic.
Certainly. Thank you, Brett. So, hey, Moses, do you want to show everybody just, how big modules are actually getting? Look at those giant stack of modules over there. So, and then come right back over here. So right now we're dealing with a REC Alpha Pure right here. This module is relatively wide, as you can see by the crossbars right here. And touching right on the subject of what Brett was mentioning, yes, I think we have seen the largest modules that we've ever seen. 44 inches in width on this one, and just a bit over 79 inches in total height. We've even seen some modules out there that are about 96 inches, basically the size of a door. So how does that relate to us in the racking world? Where do we fit into that place? Because there are so many manufacturers, so many different ways to install clamps onto module frames. If you really dig into their installation manuals, you'll see that there are pages and pages of different clamping orientations. They have stipulations on corner clamping, short side clamping, long side clamping. Where does it actually go? But if you really spend a little bit of time investing and reading into those manuals, you'll notice that they're starting to call out a specific size of the frame that needs to be engaged onto the clamp, or excuse me, a specific size of the clamp that needs to be engaged onto the frame. So if you come in and closer here real quick, you'll notice that the cross clamp has a very wide top clamp to it. This top clamp right here is 50 millimeters in total length, and it telescopes inside of the base, in and out. So what we're doing here is we're putting a positive 50 millimeters onto the actual frame of the module itself. It is a symmetrical design, which gives it a balanced clamping onto that module frame. So that means that the entire clamp is grabbing down on every side, whether it's in mid clamp or end clamp configuration. So one of the major leaps forward to make sure we develop this product correctly. So hopefully, Brett, I think I answered the question, but it's kind of an expansive question. There's a lot of module sizes out there. And there's even new ways of introducing the technology of laminating the frame. In many cases, we've noticed that cells go vertical on the long side of the frame. We're starting to see modules now where the laminate is going horizontally and the junction bar is in the middle as well, or on the opposing side. So we're trying to stay in the forefront of making sure we future-proof our products to make sure that our clamps are always going to work regardless of what direction this turns. We expect a lot of innovation out of the module manufacturers, different cell technology, higher performance, more wattage. So we're going to make sure that we continue to make products that not only support these advancements, but nurture the engineering that has to be applied to this.
Yeah, thanks for reiterating that. If you go back to the little demo table you have, just to show the customers and our audience the plastic end cap for aesthetics, right? So again, this is a dual purpose mid-end clamp. We spent many years developing it to make sure that it worked. The tolerances are tight, but yeah, show the audience our aesthetic end cap, if you would.
Absolutely. So made out of nylon 6. This is designed specifically just for aesthetics to conceal that bolt from the homeowner. Maybe they don't want to see this hardware poking out. We take a lot of voice of customer from installers, distributors, and end users. So we're trying to make sure when we leap forward and make a product, we want to make sure that it's actually providing a outcome that is beneficial for all. So one of the things I think you mentioned, Brett, is that the cross clamp cap is not structural. It is purely aesthetic. And when snapping it into place, just go ahead and let me move this box over a little bit right here. And you just, am I in the frame? Yeah. You just literally click it into place. It is very gentle, very easy to do. And we made sure that, like I said, everything's pretty glove friendly. They're nice and large. They're easy to handle. And it's very easy to install. You just literally click it right into the side. And one of the other major benefits, like we really want to lean into, there's no orientation restrictions on this clamp. This is completely universal. You can keep spinning it and keep, it can install any which way you please. Like we said, clockwise to engage it, counterclockwise to disengage it, all quarter turn.
Hey, Nick, wanted to take a step back and chat about something that you know a lot about, right? So again, just for the audience, the MiniRail Comp System is utilizing a direct-to-deck option. That's what's allowing us to give our customers this much flexibility in the design, right? Brandan and Brad had mentioned this earlier, where even if you're installing on, you could make a mistake and put your mount on the wrong course of shingles. That's happened. I've seen guys in the field do that, just being out in the field with installers. That you're following your course of shingles, you're putting your mounts down, and you could put one of these, one course down by accident because you were eyeballing it. Maybe you didn't do the string line, but want to make sure that we touch on, how we're getting to this point with this product, because as we started this conversation, the existing railless systems had a lot of restrictions, had a lot of parts. And it really comes down, in my view, to two things.
More volume.
One is the butyl seal on our products. And I would say, Brad, you're on the sales side, but in the last 5 years, our product that we came out with previously was the Splice Foot X and XL is what we started with, basically combining what we call a flexible flashing with butyl on the bottom, getting away from our traditional metal flashings. We still make them, but this has been the choice for most customers. Brad, why don't you just talk a little bit about the flexible flashing of our butyl on our Splice Feed XLs, on our multi-mounts now, and then on the MiniRail Comp. Why are customers preferring this option on the roof as opposed to the metal flashings, which we still sell, but just not as much?
I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Ease of install, that's one. If people joining us haven't installed a traditional flashing, to do that job and to do it well is difficult. It's time consuming. Finding a rafter is similar to finding a stud in drywall. There's a lot of pounding on the roof and, hearing the difference in sound, and then, drilling an exploratory pilot hole. Even the people that are really good at that, you have misses. And so, that can take a lot of time just initially setting up where your attachments go across the roof, and missed pilot holes that aren't addressed properly are a big reason why end up having leaks on a lot of jobs, because it's an assembly line on the roof and somebody misses a missed pilot hole because somebody didn't indicate it. And so, it poses additional risk. Not to mention, these days, a lot of shingle manufacturers have actually got patents on the shingle. And the second you pry up that shingle, kind of like Nick is doing right now, there is a mechanical bond with the adhesive, and the adhesives have gotten more and more aggressive. So being able to pry those up has gotten infinitely more difficult, specifically in adverse weather conditions, whether it's super hot or super cold. And all of that makes this job that much more difficult. And so, the industry, I think in general, hasn't completely gone away from traditional flashings, but I think there's been a benefit and a need that we filled with a lot of our products to make this part of installing a system easier for the installer and less invasive to the roof. So, I think those are some of the reasons why you're seeing this. And I think when you're talking about ease of install and, being able to get away from potential shingle damage, these are things that most installers across the industry would prefer, because obviously the biggest risk on any of this is having to address leaks and roof issues associated with things like this. And so there's a lot of liability and risk that you can avoid by moving to products such as this.
Yeah, this is an important thing to touch on, and what has allowed us to go down this path and provide this option to our customers. One is the popularity of the butyl seal. What you were just saying is, for could be older roofing systems, newer shingle systems that have stronger adhesives, which Owens Corning and GAF has said their new products are going to have stronger adhesives between the layers of shingles. If you're a solar installer and you're on a roof and you're trying to, basically put in what would be considered a code compliant flashing, which we can talk about a little bit, you have to do a lot of damage to that roof to get that flashing in there. You're popping out the nails, you're breaking that natural seal. And especially for newer installers that may not be as experienced, or roofs that are in really hot climates like in Texas or Arizona, places in California, those shingles are totally glued together. So to get a traditional flashing in there, a metal flashing in between those courses of shingles, there's a good chance that you're going to tear, and there's a good chance that you're going to make that roof worse than it was before you got there. So products like our multi-mount and our SpliceFoot XL allow you to just get to the roof, find your Raptor, install your screws, and go. And you're not really messing with the natural seal of that system. The other thing that's really made this product viable is direct to deck. I've said this many times. I've moved into a house here in Connecticut recently, and I have a system on my house done by a really reputable installer. And as a racking guy, I'm in the attic. I'm just checking out, how accurate they were on the lag screws. And even the best guys are going to have what we call shiners, where they're blowing out some of the sides of the Raptors. So that raises questions about how strong is that attachment, right? How many pilot holes did they make before they found the Raptor? This is stuff that happens on almost every job that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but is real. And so these types of products with these self-tapping screws that we're using on this allow you to just avoid those issues altogether. So I've actually brought on another guest from our company. Mireya Roberto is our engineering manager in the U.S. And Mireya's job is to basically take our products, work with our product development teams to make sure that the way we're designing them are meeting codes. It's strong enough for the conditions that our customers are going to be installing them in. And so when we design a product and these screws for direct-to-deck applications primarily, because with this product, whether it's portrait or landscape, we're generally going to be going direct-to-deck on every mount. And I would say a few years ago that might be frowned upon because there was just a lack of knowledge about how strong a deck-attached system would be versus a Raptor. But what we've learned and what we've demonstrated through our own testing, through third-party testing, and following the code is that if you design the system right and you test it properly and you're using the right fasteners, that you can easily do a direct-to-deck attached system, which is to me like the holy grail of racking, where hey, I want to put a module here on the roof and here and here and here, and just eliminate as many of the restrictions. So Mimi, I just wanted to introduce Mimi and bring her on, and also just talk a little bit about how these systems are designed and engineered. What are the standards that we're following? And actually, we're doing another roadshow today in Houston as well. CD Greentech Houston is doing a roadshow, and Houston is a high wind area where we have to be extra careful and diligent. The ASCE codes have changed quite a bit, where there's a lot more roof zones. We're getting much better at understanding what the wind pressures are in different places on the roof. But Mimi, can you just talk to the audience a little bit about how we go about testing and engineering these, and why we're able to do this in so many different wind conditions? Oh, Mimi, you're muted. It's funny. I'm not hearing her. No, you're not muted, but I don't hear you for some reason. So here, while Mimi's figuring out her microphone. Okay, I'm gonna keep rolling here. So I'm actually showing a slide that's showing some of the typical challenges on comp shingle roofs with the traditional racking systems. And this is a slide that I've used to demonstrate this as well. There's a lot of different parts that are required for an install when you're trying to hit rafters. And this is an example in landscape. If you're trying to do a portrait layout with a lot of these racking systems, it's even more difficult because of some of the cantilever restrictions. But for example, on this particular layout, we have a bunch of different colored dots, and each one of these different colors represents a different individualized SKU or component. And so if you're trying to hit rafters on the roof, if you slide this array right or left, or you have to eliminate something, or you have an obstruction on this project that wasn't listed on the site visit, then there's going to be changes to these, right? So you can only cantilever the exterior mounts on this so far before you actually have to do something different. You need a different part. And so for a lot of installers in the field, this can be really tricky. And this is the big difference with the MiniRail Comp system is we're getting away from all of that. It's one part that you need, and it's using the same clamps that you would use on our existing rail-based system for tile and our cross-rail products. And this is just an example of how many extra SKUs are needed for a particular type of railless install that a lot of installers have used in the past. So we're eliminating all of these things. This is an 8 kilowatt system. And like I said, most of this product is going to be in one of our smaller red boxes. This is like an earlier example of our packaging for some of our samples. It's even smaller than this, actually. Can fit in the back of a truck, in the back of a small car. So some of the other accessories of the products that our customers can use is a leveling block. One of the things we've determined through customers, interviewing a lot of customers, is leveling a system. So instead of adding a lot of complexity to this product and a lot of vertical adjustability, the feedback we got from most installers was most of the time they were not using the leveling option on the system. And so we determined that that added additional costs. In many systems, it creates a lot of weakness because that leveling is done on a single threaded steel bolt. And so if you do run into a situation with this product where the roof might be uneven, we have these module leveling blocks that you can slide underneath the bracket, underneath the module, that helps to level it out. Our experience in our pilot, our beta testing, as well as with customers that install, they're not using these almost at all. And that's exactly what we had basically predicted based upon a lot of our initial testing. Also, from an aesthetic standpoint, Nick was showing the Yeti 2.0 clamp. And what this allows you to do is use our new skirt system called the K2 Edge. And Nick, I don't know if you can hear me if you're still on, but it would be awesome if we can show customers the K2 Edge system on the real roof. Are you set up with our K2 Edge components?
Shortly.
Okay.
I have it here. Just let me get it from the back of the roof.
Yeah, let me share with the audience what this looks like. And the K2 Edge system that we're launching now, it's available. It's in stock at distributors. Is made of a few simple components, and is the first skirt system that is actually totally flat around the border, and is made of a UV resistant plastic. So it's lightweight. It's very easy to cut in the field. The aesthetics are really great. It's cost effective, easy to transport around, and has as few parts as possible. We've made this almost toolless, where the K2 Edge bracket that you install on the module frame is, you can install it on the ground, on the module frame. So it's universal to any system that's out there, whether it's something that you're installing today or something that was installed in the past. If you want to add the skirt or the K2 Edge to an existing system, it's compatible because it just attaches to the module frame. So this is another aspect of the MiniRail Comp system that is really attractive. The combination of the MiniRail Comp and the K2 Edge together provides a really sleek and aesthetic look around all edges. You can do it on just the front. We have corner pieces that go around the side, or you can go on all four edges. So cost-effective, easy to install, easy to cut in the field. So Nick, are you ready to talk about K2 Edge a little bit?
2 seconds here. I got the parts under the roof, so we're just gathering them really quickly, then we can get started.
Okay. Cool, Mimi, can we hear you? Or can you hear us?
Here's a test. Can you hear me now?
I gotcha. Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Added my phone in.
Let's
Okay. Yeah, I can jump into the testing stuff. So first I'll talk about the testing and then I'll get into the engineering since they do relate. For our testing, we have been doing a significant amount of water testing since we started using butyl in the majority of our products, specifically our mounts. So as far as the water testing goes, we do run the TAS 100A, which is a wind-driven rain test. That's the same test that Miami-Dade requires for their products. We have tested that in a multitude of orientations, so no matter where you are putting the screws in your mount, it has been water tested to the wind-driven rain standard of TAS 100A. We also have done a significant amount of testing for the butyl components. With the MiniRail Comp, we've done thermal stability, sealability around the nail, thermal cycling, just to name a few. We've also done aging tests as well. As far as structural capacity, we run what's called an ASTM D7147. This is a load test where you run it uplift, shear, and compression. We actually do 2 directions of shear parallel to what would be the rafter if you aren't doing deck attached, as well as perpendicular. So we have on the screen now one of our test reports. Brett, if you would mind scrolling down a little bit to show the different orientations we tested. Down to the photos. Here we go. So we wanted to make sure no matter how you're installing, you are going to be covered. And as you can see here, we tried to test as much as we could over courses of shingle. So you'll see we've got the 3-screw orientation down the middle. We have 2 screws across the courses, as well as the deck attach options of having the 4 screws on the corner. Here you can see that. And then,
yeah, just to explain a little bit, what we did with this test report, you're looking at this, is it's color coordinated. So the black dots would represent no screws in that location. Red dots are where we have rafter attached screws. And then the blue dots are where we have deck attached. Just to clarify.
yes, thank you. Would you mind displaying the other test report?
Sure. Yeah. So this is important because on some installs, the installer might be in a situation where they're in landscape. And hold on, getting asked to verify here. If you're in landscape, you might want to slide the mount in a particular location on the module. And so what we've done with the MiniRail Comp System, this version, is we've doubled the thickness of the butyl so that when you come across certain thicknesses of shingle courses, that you can install over that course and still be watertight. So no notching of the shingles would be necessary in this particular instance, and we're demonstrating that through this testing that we've done as well. So, Mimi, from a high wind perspective, ASCE 716 has really identified a lot more roof zones, and there's a lot more understanding now of like what the pressures are going to be in certain places. And it would be great to walk the audience through the calculator that we have. I don't know if you have that handy and ready to go.
Yep, I can go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So as I mentioned before, we do the load test ASTM D7147. And with that, we're able to create, plug my laptop in. We are able to create an engineering calculator. We do have a 716 calculator as well as a 722 for states that have started using ASCE 722. Here we're going to see we're able to use different screw sizes. With the MiniRail Comp. So if you're going to be in a higher wind area, I would recommend the 14. This calculator is a little bit easier to use than going through a typical span chart because there are so many different ways that you can install this product. This is also incorporated into our K2 quote, so you don't actually have to look at the actual Excel. It's a little bit easier to see on that. But if I change my wind speeds, so here I have an Arizona calculator. If I'm using a typical Arizona wind speed, let's say 105, exposure category B. You can change our roof zones. We have some groupings here, so I'll do 1, 2E. Our snow load in Arizona will be pretty low, and I'll leave this panel width and length about the same. So the easiest way to install this mount is going to be with the lowest number of brackets and the lowest number of screws for ease of install. So I'm going to leave it at 4 brackets and 2 screws. If I have a higher wind speed, here we can see screw utilization is fine. Our screws are not overloaded. In the case of the MiniRail Comp, the screws are going to be our failure point every time. So we don't want to overload the screws. If I up the wind speed and I have an exposed panel, and try to make it as intense as it can be. Okay, there we go. Now we see that our screw utilization check is not okay. It is over 1. So what we need to do is figure out how we can install this product in this category. So what I would first do is increase the number of screws up to 3, and that happened to work. Let me try to make it a little bit harder for myself. Okay, there we go. So if I have roof zone 3R, what am I going to need to do to allow this install? I'm going to need to up the number of brackets. So this would be a worst case scenario, but 180 miles per hour wind speed is pretty significant, especially in category C. So here you can see how we're going to change it. Obviously, this is gable roof 7 to 20. I do have a set building height that is also adjustable. If you have a different roof angle, it's just going to be down here. So you can see the differences, just the roof angle when you're going down these. If you want to do deck attached, we can do that as well. So here we have a few different options. We're going to have the option here to change the thickness of your decking. So here I have 7/16. I'll just leave it as that. Obviously, deck attached is not going to be as strong as rafter attached, so I'm going to see what I can do to allow installation. So right here we have 130 exposure category B and 3R. Take this back to 12E. With our snow load at 30, we're not able to install with just 2 screws, so I'm going to try to increase it and see if that helps. Perfect. So in this specific scenario, 130 category B, 30 PSF snow, we're going to need to use 4 brackets with 4 screws per bracket. So that's how our calculator works. We tried to make it as adjustable as possible to meet your needs as an installer. It's very flexible. This here is the hip. This is the gable. We have hip as well as monoslope incorporated into our designs as well. Brett, is there anything I'm missing on the calculator?
No, that was really great, actually. And what we're recommending, just to be clear for the audience, is these kits are going to come with 4 screws per mount, right? So it's going to be 160 screws in a box with 40 brackets. They are all going to be the number 14s. They're 3 inches long. When we're going in landscape, there is the option, if you're in landscape, going across the roof, your rafters are going to be vertical and perpendicular to the module. So you can, in certain scenarios, if you're near a rafter and that's near the quarter point of the module, you can hit the rafter in those situations, but not something that we can always reliably plan out. So if you're an installer, if you're an ops manager, a QC person, and you want installers to try to hit those rafters, as long as they're within those quarter point restrictions, that's good. What we're generally recommending for customers that are using this in, I want to say, I think it's close to 150 miles an hour and 7/16 OSB, we're generally only requiring 4 screws per mount and 4 mounts per module, meaning 1 mount, 1 clamp, on the quarter points of each module on every roof zone, generally speaking, depending upon the size of your module. So that's something we want to keep this as simple as possible for installers, where they don't have to think too much about where they are on the roof, where the module is, what roof zone they're in. So even though we can use less, even with this calculator, it's showing that we can use less screws than 4. We are recommending best practice is to use the 4 in all situations. If you're in a place like Florida, if you're coastal, in places, on the East Coast, if you're in Houston, you might have certain roofs that are certain building heights, that are certain pitches, where you're in a high wind environment. Can you explain the exposure category for the listeners as well? Because I don't think like the typical installer maybe knows what exposure category is on a roof.
Yeah, so typically the exposure category is going to be based on where the building is located. So rather than the roof zones, which are on top of the actual building, the exposure category is related to the geographical location. So if you're somewhere like Florida or Houston, you're probably going to have a higher exposure category. So B is considered typical for a suburban area that's not close to a waterway or an ocean. C could be close to, D is probably going to be near the ocean, the coast, a coastal region. Exposure category C could be near an open area, a waterway, or within the vicinity of the ocean or sea as well.
Yeah, so that might be an example in a high wind zone, like a 130, like a 150, and it is exposure category C. That could be a condition where either 6 screws, are necessary in roof zone 3R, which is at the ridge of the roof in the corner. But generally speaking, that's an extreme condition. And also, what we've added to this calculator is the different thicknesses of the sheathing. So, especially in places like Florida, I believe as you get into the higher wind zones, they start using different sized sheathing. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Yes. So in our calculator, we have incorporated 7, 16, 5/8, and 3/4 of an inch. I believe that's going to be the minimum that you're really seeing. But if there's something else that you're seeing in your market, we can engineer it for that specifically. But I think 7/16, I'm seeing a lot of. 3/4 of an inch, I'm seeing a little bit as well in those higher wind areas.
Yeah, and keep in mind in places like Florida, once you go from 150 to 160, 170, as you get further south, further coastal, building code in a lot of those regions is going to require plywood instead of OSB. And plywood has a better pull-out values in general. And it'll be a thicker type of plywood. It'll be 15, 30 seconds. It'll be 3/4 inch plywood. Sometimes it's tongue and groove plywood. So for our deck screws, even when you get into some of these really high wind zones and these higher exposure categories, the standard building code is increasing the strength of the sheathing, which basically allows our railless and our deck direct-to-deck screws to still be really effective in those wind zones. So if you're unsure with this product, give your local territory sales manager a call, put you in touch with Mimi or someone on her team to share the engineering letter. This is an internal calculator. We do share this calculator, and this is the backbones of our K2 Quote software, which is a new design software that we created. To just go to k2systems.com. This is now really our preferred quick and easy way to get a bill of materials. With the K2 Quote, and now the MiniRail Comp, as well as a lot of other products are on here now. Nick, if you're ready, I did definitely wanted to go down to you to walk the audience through the K2 Edge system, our new skirt product that really pairs well with this system. The MiniRail Comp system does sit pretty low to the roof. It's something a lot of customers like, especially homeowners, salespeople really do focus on the aesthetics, and having a nice low profile racking system is something that we've been getting feedback on.
Maybe you can go from up here.
Is preferred. Yeah, Nick, we could hear you. Why don't you walk everybody through the K2 Edge system?
Absolutely. Let's go through the K2 Edge here. We have sample boxes of this available, and this is the first universal skirt that goes nice at 90 degrees. It gives you an excellent framed in look, and it is all made out of polymer. So I don't know if you guys saw me earlier in the video, but I was cutting the material. This is very easy to cut on site. It's very lightweight. It's simple to install. And just like Brett said, it is semi-toolless. So you only need to install one part with your gun. Cutting it, of course, you can use the same hacksaw or reciprocating saw or bandsaw that you're using to cut the rail. If you're doing railless, normally you don't have that tool, but most people have a hacksaw ready to go. You're going to require a tape measure. I do recommend you use the framing square. It's all in an instruction manual and in our videos online. But let's get right into the meat of it. What is K2 Edge? Well, it is a very high aesthetic array skirt that is different from the rest. We've made it out of a very lightweight polymer. There are two different heights on the skirt itself. You can see that it has these T-tracks, which engage with our module clips. So I'm going to be deconstructing it to show you guys a little bit more of how it actually goes. Basically cams into place. The module clips are right here.
I think we lost connection.
Oh, did we lose Nick?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, no worries. Actually, what I can do at this point, Mimi, was there anything about the MiniRail Comp System that you wanted to touch on from an engineering, from the certifications standpoint?
Yeah, so one thing to point out, obviously you've brought up the high wind a lot. So one of the ways that we looked at certifications for this product is that we tested it as if we would be testing a mount for Miami-Dade. So we ran the same tests and we did the same engineering that would be required for those high wind areas. We're seeing a lot of people adopting Miami-Dade in outside areas such as Houston and the Caribbean. So we wanted to make sure we had the engineering to back it up if we ever wanted to go down that path. So I think that's something that's a little bit different and a little bit more higher than most railless systems.
Okay.
Oh, Nick, yeah, we hear you.
Cool. Yeah, I hear you now. But I did want to just touch on something, Nick, before you move on. So there are definitely some interesting trends with racking right now. There's a couple of different codes and standards that we are certifying our products to. So one of the new ones is UL 3741. And not only are we listening to our Crossrail system, but also the MiniRail Comp System is going to be included in that standard, in that certification. Mimi, can you talk about 3741 just a little bit? What is that standard? I know it's been out here for a while. We have this now for our commercial. One of our commercial systems is shortly going to be listed to that standard. Can you explain for viewers what that standard means for a residential system?
Yeah, so it's mainly a safety standard for rapid shutdown to protect people that are going up on the roof in the case of an emergency. So typically in the standard, you're writing a lot about what is assumed to be a firefighter up on the roof, inspecting a system or handling an emergency. If you have shut down the system, we want to make sure that the racking reflects that. So we have to do impact testing on a full system setup to ensure that we are protecting those firefighters. We have to have safe wire management systems. So there's a lot of wire management integrated into this certification as well. So with a railless product, obviously that's a bigger deal. With our railed systems, we use our rails as the wire management. So this has been kind of an added security to make sure that we have protections for people on the roof in case of an emergency.
Yeah, and this is an important topic for railless, right? So one of the challenges with railless is kind of approaching your wire management differently, right? So especially with microinverters or optimizers, module level power electronics, is just all the wire that's on module in the system, being able to use rails to zip tie and fix your wires to has been something in terms of the process. So if you're doing a railless system like this, you're going to be using a frame mount. So if you're using Enphase or you're using Solar Edge, or AP systems are going to be mounting that microinverter, that optimizer to the frame of the panel. And then you're going to be using some of our wire clips, like the Dragon clip, like, for example, to secure those wires so there's nothing dangling. What's pretty cool about 3741 is products like Midnight Solar, the Tesla MCI1, the MCI2. These are string isolation devices. So instead of having an optimizer microinverter per panel, installers can now go to maybe in some cases a more cost-effective option, and they'll have a certain number of string isolation devices, which is going to reduce a lot of the wire management on the panel. So, Nick, do you want to? This is a topic that you've worked on quite a bit. Do you want to talk a little bit about string isolation devices and how that applies to the MiniRail Comp System? I can't hear you, Nick.
Sorry about that. Can you guys hear us now?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So as we were just talking about that, you can see that we have one of those string isolation devices. This is actually a mid-circuit interrupter from Tesla, and this is our frame bracket that can be mounted with that accessory. So encompassing the safety and hazard control of 3741, just as Mimi was explaining, it's currently designed so basically there's a management of cable and rules on how you manage the cable across to your system and your array, and how many of these devices are allocated to your array. So in some cases, with 3741, with this specific one right here, you would only need one of these for every 600 volts in the size of the system. Some of the newer technology that's coming out does require some to allocate more of the devices onto the array. But with this particular one right here, I believe you can install up to 7 modules with just one of these in the per subarray. Fitting these onto a system can get a little bit complicated of where they go. So we've minimalized the size, or the manufacturer of these have microed down the size, but now the placement is where it starts to get a little bit difficult. So where they go on the array is really up to the management of the circuit and your string size. But we do want to make sure that K2 is providing options for mounting it to the frame, mounting it to your rail, especially with railless. This is an accessory that you're going to require out in the field. So just slides onto the frame. You hit the carriage bolt with our 13 millimeter socket, and it fastens it nice and well to the frame of the module. You can mount it really anywhere you want. Some installers are choosing the corners because there's a lot more rigidity to the frame here. And then of course, managing the leads coming out of these units or the module leads with our Dragon clip has never been easier. You just pop these into the side and you can mount these cables wherever you want. The Dragon clip is one of the foundation products of this because it's nice and glove friendly. It's simpler to install. It just pops right onto the side of the module frame, as you can see, and it bites in very aggressively with these stainless steel teeth that we have right here. So you can fit up to 4 PV cables from the actual module, or you can use N-phase Q cable inside of the Dragon clip, and you can use a mixture of both of them.
Very cool.
I think we're ready for installing the edge for you if you want, Brett.
Yeah, let's go. Let's move on to the edge. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the K2 Edge is our new skirt system. Skirts have been out for a while. They've come in a lot of different configurations. A lot of the older skirts were specific for rail systems only, so you couldn't even use them on a normal railed product. Ours is universal. So why don't you walk through some of the components and some of the features of the system?
Absolutely. So we have these sample kits right here of the K2 Edge system. So this comes complete with everything you'll need for the install. It comes with the module bracket kit, the universal corners, a couple pieces of the K2 Edge itself, and the connector that goes in the middle. We can do it on this small mini array that we have right here for you guys. I've already installed it. Like we were saying earlier, you're going to need your hex socket. You're going to need the ability to cut it and a tape measure. But after you install the brackets onto the actual module frame, the rest of it's toolless, and we can show you that by disengaging it. So we can show you that by disengaging it really quickly here. So you just basically pull up on this tab right here, and it turns a cam inside of the actual clamp itself where these T-tracks engage. You can come around here real quick, Mel. Thanks. You can slide the skirt material out of the corner and pop it out at a 45-degree angle. There are 2 channels for different heights. You can see one is proud and one's a little bit ducked down. For MiniRail Comp, you're going to want to use this height right here, depending upon the offset of your roof. But sliding it into the bracket is really simple. These tabs can even help you on the roof by holding the skirt on the roof for you while you're prepping. So you can just throw the skirt material up there and it won't fall off.
So Nick, that
the bracket
K2
here,
edge is sitting pretty low to the roof. You know, how does that apply to like critter guard?
It can act as a you know, an abatement or you know, keeping critters out. I think there is you know, a little bit more. That's actually a great subject because a lot of people are looking for solutions for that. So the K2 edge can be used in that retrospective. After we install it on the large roof, you'll notice that there's barely like a 0.5 centimeter or 5 millimeters clearance off the roof. So it is really, really tight to the roof. But I was going to show you here how the actual module clips engage to the frame. So why don't we go ahead and disconnect them and give you guys a tour of that real quick. Like we said, you just pull up on the tabs and it unlocks. And everything is very glove friendly. Everything's a little large, so it's easy to install. You can slide out the corners. The corners are universal, so you can just put them on any side, inseam or outseam. This is the right-hand corner, the left-hand corner. It's a transition if you want. So we really tried to make everything a low part count and very, very user-friendly. If I disengage the skirt here, I can show you how it actually goes in. You just pop it into place, push it on over. You'll feel it take and engage in. And then after that, it's toolless. You just flip it down and it's locked in. It's not going anywhere. After that,
cool.
You can apply a corner. The corners are all hand fit, hand tight. So all you have to do is fit them inside. You'll feel them snug and grab onto the edge material. And then after that, let's apply the front skirt. You can build this skirt any direction that you want. You can build it from the front out. You can build it from the side up. When you are installing it on the sides, we do recommend that you use our hidden end clamps because that'll be the easiest way for you to continue the skirt up the roof. And after that, if you can see from the top here, I'm going to install one of the module clips very simply and easily. And all this can be done on the ground or on the roof. Leave those tabs up. And I did say earlier, you can use those tabs to hold the skirt for you while you're on the roof, just like we're doing over there. So you don't have to fumble with it. Here's another detail about the skirt material. Normally, if you could get your angle cut really straight, that'd be fantastic. It looks like mine got a little bit off, but there's no need to worry about that because the corner has a lot of forgiveness inside of it. So when you put the corner on, it'll furnish that kind of offset cut. So you don't have to be nearly as precise as you do with other skirt styles of skirts. After that, you just press it in and it can actually slide across the back as well. So you can slide it over and just push it over and lock it in.
Right, so the only tools that you need you can really do on the ground on the modules before you even bring them up to the roof. So you're not even needing tools. Once you're on your, 30 degree, 45 degree pitch roof, you're not under there trying to tighten a bracket while you're, hanging onto your leash.
Correct. And you don't need 2 tools or multiple tools. And one of the best features, Brett, is that we're providing a skirt here that's lightweight and simple and easy and safer to cut. A lot of the large aluminum skirts out there are still very nice to look at, but in many cases, if you don't have the right tools, they're pretty dangerous to install. So if you have a wide piece of aluminum that you need a chop saw or a miter saw for, most technicians who are installing solar have a lot more electrical tools than they do have carpentry tools or finishing tools. So you don't need a miter saw to cut this. So we're going to go ahead and install this front row skirt right now, and I'll show you how easy it is on the roof. So like we said, you can just get right in here. You can hold the clip. I already pre-installed these. And then I can use that to hold the skirt up on the roof. Let's go on to number 3 here. And then after that, it's all toolless. Let's go this way.
And it just snaps into place.
Like that's,
we talked
Yep.
to a lot of customers and installers about this. Like I said, on the critter guard topic, the options that are out there are, basically typically a nylon coated steel mesh that has some kind of quirky clips that hold it in. And, I think what generally ends up happening for a lot of people is they put solar on their house. I mean, I even experienced this when I put solar on my house when I lived in Arizona. And I did not have like a critter guard on my system at first. And if you're a solar salesperson, one of the main topics that homeowners do have concerns with is the aesthetics of the system, right? So I think the modules have gotten much better in the aesthetics. Modules now with the black on black is pretty standard. The bus bars on the cells have gotten much smaller. So I do think that, the modular companies have done a really good job of making the modules a lot more aesthetic these days. But I would say that the critter guard that's out there doesn't look particularly great on any system. And I think that ends up being a bit of a surprise for a lot of consumers where, they'll get this. Some installers are good and they put that critter guard on every single install. They've just learned over time that they should just do it up front. But there are a lot of customers that get sold the system, they buy a system, and their concerns are aesthetic, and then they realize they have pigeons or, they have critters getting under the system, and there's just an issue with that, and then they'll have the critter guard put on later, and then they realize that critter guard doesn't look particularly great. So we are advocating that on comp with the MiniRail Comp system, that our K2 edge is so low profile to the edges of the system. You really should not need any additional critter guard. It could depend upon exactly what type of critters that you're dealing with. If it's like a chipmunk or a family of chipmunks, those guys might be able to get into some of the really, really tight spots of the system, but definitely no pigeons, likely no squirrels, definitely no raccoons, things like that. So not only does it look really good, it's easy to install. I mean, Nick is getting this on right now fairly easily. And like he said, no sharp edges, and it does act as a layer of protection against critters. And even if you do want to put a critter guard mesh behind it, you can still do that, and then use our K2 edge to finish it off, finish the corners. The cool feature of this product is it is very few parts that don't really require tools. Our corners, because the edges are flat, are universal. So whether it's an outside corner or an inside corner, it's the same corner piece. You just flip it upside down. So really the main 4 parts of this system is the bracket, K2 edge bracket, which goes on the module frame, uses a 13 millimeter socket like we have with all of the other components in the system. Yep. The K2 edge skirt itself, it's our splice component, and then our corner piece. And so something pretty popular that a lot of installers are doing now is not just putting that skirt on the front, they're putting it around, a lot of times 3 sides and even sometimes all 4 sides of the array to close it in. So, Nick, when you get done with that, it would be pretty cool to remove that one module, because the cool thing with this system is it looks like that's just rail on the roof. It just looks like a normal crossrail system. And, that's one of the cool things about this is that is a railless system, and it's in portrait, and it's being mounted at the quarter points, right exactly where rail would normally be. What we're really just doing is eliminating all of the redundant rail that is underneath that system that you don't need anymore, right? You put the mount exactly where The clamps are going to be if you're a procurement person, if you're an off taker in the warehouse, the components are really simple. Because the cross clamp is a mid and an end, you have the same exact number of brackets and cross clamps. So if you have 40 brackets, you have 40 clamps, and that's just one part. You don't need to know if it's an end clamp or a mid clamp. You may want to have the aesthetic caps on the end of the cross clamp to just finish it off nice. But we've eliminated about 60% of the material that was required in this type of installation as in the past. And so while that helps for sure on shipping, so something we talk to our distributors about a lot is, when they're shipping out to locations that maybe are, a little further away from a metropolitan area, the cost of shipping really long rails can be really high. If you have, a 14, 20-foot long rail, you have to have that typically on a dedicated flatbed truck. And flatbed shipping is expensive. And there are plenty of distributors, there's plenty of installers that try to move those rails on what we call LTL or box trucks because it's less expensive, but they have extreme length fees. You can imagine, a box truck is doing a number of different deliveries, and they're adding the whatever, maybe it's a pallet, 100 rails that are 14 feet. It's really difficult to get that in and out of a box truck. So if you're a distributor, one of the things that you're concerned about to make sure that you're offering the most competitive pricing to your customers is freight. And when you're dealing with long rails, you kind of eliminate some of those LTL options that can be, on time. It can be fast delivery options, it can be lower cost delivery options. A lot of that goes out the window when you have really long rails. So, with this system, we're eliminating like 60% of the material. The material cost is less. The installation time frame is much faster, especially on mounting, putting the mounts down. We're opening up shipping lanes, for areas that might be further away for distributors, avoiding extreme length fees, and just the weight in general. We did some comparisons, between our standard cross-rail system and the MiniRail Comp, and 60% less material from a weight standpoint is also lower shipping costs. So all of those things are helping this product to really provide a real value to the installer, to the distributor, to the homeowner, so we can offer the best possible racking system at the lowest overall installed cost. So Nick, why don't you, because for those of you that have been watching, that might have looked just like a cross-rail system, but it's not. It's really just these brackets. So why don't you walk through that?
Absolutely. We have the audio. Thank you, Brett. Yeah. So as you can see here, we're just basically using the two mount method on this. This is the same way that if you've been installing rail, same measuring, the same exact style of mounting. The only thing that really changes here is you will increase the amount of mounts you use. But what we've done is we've made it simpler and safer and faster to install. So as you were saying, we clamp the same way that we clamp rail, one clamp across the entire system, and it's deployed to the entire railless or rail-based system. So now we can drop down this module and show you how fast it actually goes. You'll also notice that we are able, like Brett was saying, we're able to run the skirt up the side of the roof as well. And if you didn't witness me cutting it over there, it cuts very simply, very easily. You can even cut it on the roof if you need to. So in order to install a new module, all I have to do is put in a new clamp, put in a mid clamp. Cross clamps are working great for us here. Thanks for helping me, Bob. Appreciate that. Whoops. We make an adjustment here, but yeah.
So very cool, man.
Thank you.
Again, just to reiterate, we're gonna wrap up pretty soon. Nich Pak, our senior residential product managers on site with CD Greentech Sacramento on their mock roof, showing on a live stream our new products, a couple of new products in the MiniRail Comp System, which is our new railless product, our K2 Edge skirt products, and most importantly, I think for a lot of our customers is the new cross clamp. And just to reiterate what this product does, is it's no more finding rafters. It's completely direct to deck. No more prying of shingles. You have a reliable butyl seal on the MiniRail Comp System. We're always maintaining our clamping zones on our modules, right? So if it's portrait or landscape, we're always maintaining that quarter point on the module, which has become even more important as modules have gotten bigger and solar has become more popular in areas with really high winds. The clamping size, the clamping range is 30 to 45, but more importantly, the contact surface area is 50 millimeters. That translates to almost 2 inches of clamping surface area. Most of the module companies that are out there, Q-Cells, REC, if you look at their assembly guides, are requiring in their assembly guide for their warranty that the clamping surface area is at least 1.5 inches.
Better.
A lot of clamps out there are not that large and potentially are avoiding warranties. Again, installation is really simple, really fast. Material cost is very low. And also, for distributors, managing this product, using the components from our Crossrail system, we're really only asking distributors to bring in 1 or 2 extra products or parts compared to most of the railless systems out there. They require a completely redundant set of SKUs, literally talking about 15 to 20 new unique SKUs if the customer wants to do railless. This is super easy for distribution to stock. It's easy for installers to stock. Eliminates all of the long rail, eliminates all of the waste on a project. You're not cutting anything anymore on these MiniRail Comp systems. The cost of shipping is down, like I said just earlier, about 60% less material than we are with Crossrail systems. And again, that opens up a host of advantages on shipping for LTL versus flatbed. So, our beta test, we have customers that are using this now. We had Brandan Sirrine, Solar Goat, on earlier. He does a lot of detach and reset projects. He loves using this system. Aesthetically, this system looks great. It's cost effective. It's easy to install, right? So wherever you want to put a module down, you can put it down with this system. It's been tested. It's certified. Also, one thing to note is not only is this system going to be UL 3741 listed, we all are also manufacturing this as a U.S. domestic manufactured part, right? So if you're selling a PPA or a lease, a TPO, or even if it's a commercial project, this system will help towards trying to achieve that 40% and even 55% next year of U.S. domestic content, and helps to get that extra 10%. So we'll get that 40% on it's easier to get that 40%, I should say. I've got to be pretty specific with that. On that ITC for those leases, PPAs, and commercial projects. One last thing I wanted to share with our customers is this is on our new K2 quote platform. So let me share my screen and show that. So Mimi was on just a little bit ago. Mimi's our engineering manager in the US, and she was walking the audience through the internal calculator that we use. It's an Excel-based calculator that we get from our partner, Moment Engineering. Moment Engineering is our partner that stamps the pull-out values on the screws. They've really helped us to optimize the system so that it's really easy and simple for our customers to design. One of the cool things about the MiniRail Comp system is that it doesn't have that vertical adjustability. We're using our K2, our MiniRail Comp leveling blocks for that. But what that allows us to do is the engagement of the bracket and the module is on a flat surface, and it's not standing up on a steel threaded bolt, which creates a lot of shear moment and really can limit the spans So we're really able to get up to really high wind speeds, high snow loads. It limits the shear on the bracket. And so Mimi was walking everybody through that calculator earlier. So in almost all locations that you're going to be installing, regardless of the building height, regardless of the exposure category, regardless of the roof zone, almost always the installer will be just installing 4 brackets and 4 screws per module. You don't have to think hard about where that bracket needs to go, how many screws you need. Really simple for, let's say, 90% of the jobs. If you are on a job that has high winds or you're in a high exposure category, very simple. You just add another bracket in that zone, and you might just add a 3rd bracket, or you might just add some extra screws in those areas. But it really does keep the cost of this system levelized, which was a big thing on our last live stream. We had Justin on from Suntria. You know, he was talking about how a lot of salespeople are guided towards portrait installs because it keeps the cost down in the racking. Racking costs in landscape can be pretty extreme. You know, the difference can be kind of extreme. It can be, 40, 50% higher. There's more rail, there's more attachments, there's more penetrations, and there's more labor when you do landscape. But at the end of the day, if you're a solar company, you want to be designing a system that provides the homeowner with the best result, the most amount of panels, the least amount of attachments, and the lowest possible cost and return on investment you're trying to do. So what I'm showing you now is our K2 quote. It's right on our website in the upper right-hand corner. On K2 quote, sign in, get a login. We have a whole bunch of products on here now. I've already gone to our MiniRail Comp section. And when we developed this piece of software, we really wanted to make this simple and easy for especially distributors to get their parts lists, right? So like a lot of the tools out there, even some of our tools, are very engineering based. You put a lot of inputs into it, and sometimes there's a lot of steps to go through to get to that final bomb that you're looking for, and it can take time. And so that was the purpose of this tool, to keep it really simple. So on here, we just pick our roof type. If this is a roof or ground, and it'll start giving me some options. So it's a roof. We're going to choose our MiniRail Comp System. Obviously comp. Mount finish is dark. Lamp color is dark. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to pick a module. So we'll go in and pick our Hanwha Q cells. And the popular module they're using is the Qtron 425 is one of their top modules right now that are out there. And then based upon the module finish, it'll ask me to choose a clamp color. So clamp color is dark. We're going to choose our cross clamp set for dark for our end clamp, cross clamp set dark for knit. Again, that's the same thing. And then we'll tell it, that's a little bit of a difference on our tool right now, is we're going to tell it what we want to choose, right? What is the span that we're designing to? And then we can verify that. Instead of doing it the other way around, which can take a little bit more time, you're asking it, hey, what is the max span I can do? Most of you guys out there are sticking to either a 4, 6 foot span. With the MiniRail Comp, you don't even have to think about that. We're just putting clamps at the corner points and the mounts at the corner points of every module. So here we'll say we're going to do 2. And now I'm just going to draw my array, right? Delete a couple of modules. Super easy. And I can verify right here. So now that I'm trying to verify, I need to verify, I'm going to give it some more information, right? So it's a gable roof. It's a 2027 roof height, new roof height, 4 brackets, risk category, wind exposure, deck attached, OSB is 716. Our estimate. So with like really fast, couple of clicks, I now have my parts list. I've verified that the project and the design works for that building height, the wind speed, the exposure category. And I already have the number of parts, the wattage. I can put in a discount here. If I'm a distributor, I know my discount off of list. If you're a customer whose distributor provides that pass-through discount level, you can put that in there. And then, we can even do a forecast and start adding things like how many jobs per month. So if I do, 20 jobs a month, the distributor salesperson is now calculating what that cost is going to be. So super fast and easy. At this point, we can add some of those other accessories if we want them. We think we need leveling blocks, we'll add them here. If we want those dragging clips, we can add them. But super fast, super easy. So I think we're about ready to wrap it up. We've been on for a couple hours now. I hope everybody finds these live streams a bit more interesting. I mean, our goal with this is that you don't have to sign up and be here the whole time and kind of talk through things. And we touch on topics, although kind of redundantly. So you can just stop in and watch for 5 minutes. You can watch for 10 minutes. You can stay on for an hour. Whatever time you have. And most importantly, we got Nick down on the roof, so you can see it in person. Right? That's actually CD Greentech's mock roof. Nick, you are muted, so no one can hear you. That's the mock roof at the CD Greentech in Sacramento, and which we like, right? It's nice to be able to show some slides, show some documentation, show some of our engineering, show our design tools, while also having someone live on site with one of our partners in CD Greentech Sacramento that can walk through the system. Yeah, so Nick, why don't you wrap it up?
Absolutely. Yeah, Brett, thank you everybody for joining today and spending a little bit of time of your morning with us. We also like to thank Greentech for hosting us here in Sacramento. They stock just about everything we have here at Greentech Sacramento. So get in touch with the Greentech NorCal rep. Get in touch with Bob Ivaldi, who's the territory rep here. Moses and our marketing team, thank you, everyone. Brett, thank you for giving us the opportunity to do these live streams. We look forward to working with you guys much.
Boom, we lost you again. Hey, he was wrapping it up.
And find out more about MiniRail Comp.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Nick. We will talk to you later. And thanks to everyone that stuck with us through the live stream. This will be live on YouTube, so you can go back and watch the whole thing. You can revert back to various topics if you'd like. And really a huge thanks to CD Greentech Sacramento. CD Greentech in general is a great partner of ours. We're doing a roadshow in a bunch of different locations. We're doing roadshows in Texas. We're doing roadshows in the Pacific Northwest. We're in Sacramento today. We're doing roadshows in the East Coast as well. So thank you to CD Greentech in general. And for those of you that are going to be attending RE Plus, it's like 5 or 6 weeks away now. We will be displaying this product there. If you want to see it in person, if you want to see the K2 Edge, if you want to see the cross plant, these products are now available and they are in stock and they are ready for purchase. So thanks again to Dakota. Dakota Lum is our marketing manager for helping coordinate. Thanks to Moses, and we will talk to you guys later, and we'll see you at the next roadshow. Thank you.